You know, when you hear about surgery these days,
Yeah.
it seems like it's always incredibly specific,
Oh, yeah.
like tailored to that patient, and even down to the tools they're using.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're diving into today, this whole idea of custom procedure packs.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got this report that just lays it all out, this whole global market.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. So for everyone listening,
Yeah.
you know, think of it like these custom procedure packs. They're like having the perfect toolbox ready to go for any surgery.
Exactly. It's like everything you need all laid out, prepackaged, sterile, ready to
They're
go.
totally streamlined.
Yeah. And when you understand this market, you really start to see how healthcare is changing.
Becoming more efficient, trying to control costs, all of that.
For sure.
That's what we're going to unpack today.
Absolutely.
So for you listening, we're going to break it down, make this easy to understand.
Yeah.
We're going to look at how big this market is globally right now.
Okay.
See where it's headed in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Break it down by region.
Yeah.
And then look at the types of packs and what's driving all this growth.
Sounds good.
So let's jump right in. What does this report say about the sheer size of this market right now?
Well, in 2025, it's projected to be a pretty big market.
Yeah.
$7,820 million US dollars.
Oh, wow.
Which is a multi-billion-dollar industry already.
Yeah.
And it shows you just how many surgeries are happening worldwide and how important these kits are becoming.
Yeah.
But what's even more interesting is where it's going.
Okay.
So by 2033, it's expected to hit 11,378.8 million.
Wow, that's a big jump.
It is with a CAGR, a compound annual growth rate,
Okay.
of 4.8% between 2025 and 2033.
So why is this market growing so much?
Well, the report says the main driver is just the increasing number of surgeries happening globally.
Makes sense, right? More people.
More people are living longer,
Mm-hmm.
and there are more medical advancements that allow for more surgeries to happen.
Yeah, so the demand is just going up.
Exactly. And as that demand goes up, you need more efficiency.
You got to streamline things.
Yeah, make sure everything is standardized. That's where these packs come in.
Makes sense. Now let's zoom in a little.
Okay.
What about different parts of the world?
Sure.
How does this all break down regionally?
Well, there are some interesting differences.
Okay.
North America is the biggest player right now, over 40% of the global revenue in 2025.
Wow.
With a market size of $2,893.4 million.
Okay.
But their growth rate is a little slower, a CAGR of 3.3% from 2025 to 2033.
Interesting. So within North America, who's leading the charge?
The U.S., of course.
Makes sense.
Market size of $2,282.89 million in 2025.
Okay.
And their CAGR is a little bit lower at 3.1%.
Why do you think that is?
Well, they have a lot of regulations
Oh, right.
that encourage the use of these pre-sterilized packs.
So that might be influencing the growth rate.
Could be.
Interesting. What about Canada?
They're at 347.21 million in 2025.
Okay.
But a slightly higher growth rate at 4.1%.
Huh. So they're growing a bit faster.
Yeah, they seem to be focused on getting patients in and out quickly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then you have Mexico
Uh-huh.
at 263.3 million in 2025,
Okay.
and their CAGR is 3.8%.
So North America is the big player now, but it sounds like other areas might be catching up.
Yeah, it's definitely a global trend.
What about Europe?
Europe is also a big market,
Okay.
over 30% of global revenue.
Wow.
But there's something interesting here.
Okay.
The report gives two different numbers for their market size in 2025.
What are they?
One is 13,056.48 million.
Okay.
And the other is 2,267.8 million.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is. It makes you wonder what's going on there.
Yeah, why such a discrepancy?
Maybe one includes more than just the pack.
Oh, like related products?
Exactly. Or maybe they use different ways of calculating it.
Huh. Market research can be tricky sometimes.
It can, but their projected CAGR is consistently 3.9%.
Okay, so that's at least solid.
Yeah.
What about specific countries within Europe?
Well, the UK has a market of 380.9 million in 2025.
Okay.
And a pretty strong CAGR of 4.7%.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, they're putting a lot of money into healthcare.
Oh, right. Government spending.
Exactly.
Interesting. What about Germany?
They're at 449.2 million in 2025.
Okay.
And a KGR of 4.1%.
Huh, not bad. What's driving that growth?
Well, they really like single-use medical products there.
Makes sense.
It's a big part of their healthcare system.
Interesting. What about France?
France is a little lower at 208.4 million in 2025
Okay.
and a CAGR of 3.1%.
Okay, so a little slower growth there.
Yeah.
And what about the rest of Europe?
Well, Russia, Italy, and Spain all have decent-sized markets too,
Okay.
each with their own growth predictions.
So Europe is kind of all over the place.
It is. It's a really diverse region.
That difference in the 2025 number for Europe is definitely interesting, though.
Yeah.
Shows you how complex this data can be.
Uh-huh.
It's good to keep in mind these reports are great for trends, but the exact numbers can be tricky.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to the real growth story here.
Okay.
APAC, the Asia-Pacific region.
Yeah, APAC is really taking off.
What are we seeing there?
Well, right now they're at about 23% of the global revenue,
Okay.
with a market size of 1,876.8 million in 2025.
All right.
But get this, their projected CAGR from 2025 to 2033 is a whopping 7.5%.
Wow, that's huge.
It's the fastest growing region by far.
So what's driving that kind of growth?
Well, it's a combination of things, really.
Okay.
You've got China with a big market, already 788.26 million in 2025,
Uh-huh.
and a CAGR of 7%.
So still strong growth.
Yeah, and a lot of that is driven by hospitals trying to save money.
Makes sense these packs can help with that.
They can.
Streamline things, reduce waste.
Exactly. Then you have India.
Okay.
They're at 187.68 million in 2025.
Right.
But their CAGR is the highest of any country at 9.4%.
Wow, why is India growing so fast?
They're seeing a huge increase in minimally invasive surgeries.
Interesting.
Yeah, those surgeries often use these specialized packs.
Makes sense. What about other countries in APAC?
Well, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and Southeast Asia are all showing really strong growth too.
So it's really a region-wide trend.
Absolutely. There are different factors at play in each country,
Yeah.
but overall, APAC is the one to watch.
Yeah, it seems like that's where the action is.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered North America, Europe, and APAC. What about the rest of the world?
Sure.
How do South America, the Middle East, and Africa compare?
Well, South America is at over 5% of global revenue. Okay.
Their market size in 2025 is 297.6 million.
Right.
And they're projected to grow at a CAGR of 5.5%.
Okay, so decent growth.
Yeah, Brazil is the biggest market there.
Makes sense.
127.18 million in 2025.
Uh-huh.
And their CAGR is 6.1%.
Okay.
They've got government regulations that encourage single-use products.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's helping drive growth.
Makes sense.
What about Argentina?
They're at 49.92 million in 2025
Okay,
and a CAGR of 6.4%.
not bad. What's driving that growth?
Well, their population is aging,
Uh-huh.
and there's a higher rate of chronic diseases.
Right, so more need for surgery.
Exactly.
What about the Middle East?
They're around 2% of global revenue,
Okay.
with a market size of 172.4 million in 2025,
Right.
and a CAGR of 5.1%.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia and the UAE are the main players there. Cost effectiveness is a big driver, especially in Turkey.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're really looking for ways to save money.
Makes sense.
And then Africa is also around 1% of global revenue.
Okay.
Same market size as the Middle East, 172.4 million in 2025,
All right.
and the same CAGR of 5.1%.
So pretty similar to the Middle East.
Yeah, South Africa is the biggest market there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really focused on infection control,
Makes sense.
especially in countries like Nigeria.
Right. Those sterile packs are really important in that context.
Absolutely.
So it seems like every region is seeing growth.
Yeah, it's a global trend,
But APAC is definitely the standout.
for sure.
It's fascinating to see those regional differences.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about the market size and where it's growing.
Uh-huh.
Let's dig into the types of packs.
Okay.
How are they used, and what kinds of surgeries are they for?
Well, the report breaks it down by use outlook and product outlook.
Okay, let's start with use outlook. How are these packs being used?
Single-use packs are the most popular by far.
Makes sense. Why is that?
Well, they're really good at preventing infections,
Yeah, that's crucial.
and they're super convenient for healthcare professionals.
Right, no need to sterilize and repackage.
Exactly. And a lot of healthcare regulations now favor single-use items.
So it's a combination of safety, convenience, and regulations.
Pretty much.
What about reusable tacks?
They're around, but not as popular.
Why is that?
Well, they can be cheaper
Okay.
and maybe better for the environment,
Uh-huh.
but there are concerns about sterilization and stuff.
Right. You have to make sure they're completely clean.
Exactly.
So single use is the clear winner.
For now, anyway.
What about product outlook?
Right.
What kinds of surgeries are these packs designed for?
Well, there are a lot of different types,
Okay.
but some of the biggest are cardiovascular surgery packs.
Oh, wow. Those must be complex.
They're used for all sorts of heart surgeries.
Like what?
Like bypasses, valve replacements, all kinds of delicate procedures.
So these packs are essential for those surgeries.
Oh, yeah, they have all the specialized tools and materials.
Makes sense. What other types are there?
Well, orthopedic surgery packs are also really big.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
Well, things like osteoporosis and arthritis are becoming more common.
Uh-huh. Especially as people get older?
Exactly. And then there are sports injuries, too.
Right. And what are these packs used for?
All kinds of orthopedic procedures, joint replacements, spinal surgeries, things like that.
And those are often minimally invasive now, right?
Yeah, which requires special instruments.
So these packs are really tailored to those needs.
Absolutely.
What other types of packs are there?
Well, the report also mentions packs for neurosurgery.
Okay. Brain and spine stuff.
Yeah, and ophthalmology.
Eyes.
And gynecology.
Okay. Women's health.
And general surgery.
So the basic stuff.
Yeah, and then there are even more specialized packs
For what?
for things like cosmetic surgery and urology.
Wow. So there's a pack for pretty much every type of surgery.
It seems like it.
That's amazing. It's so specialized.
It is. It's really impressive.
So who's buying all these packs?
Well, the end user outlook tells us hospitals are the biggest customers right now.
Makes sense. They do the most surgeries.
Exactly. They need a lot of these packs to keep things running smoothly.
And to prevent infections.
Yeah, standardization is really important in hospitals.
What about other places that do surgery?
Well, ambulatory surgical centers, or ASCs, are becoming really popular.
Oh, right. Those are like outpatient facilities.
Exactly. They're usually cheaper and more convenient.
And they're doing more and more surgeries.
They are especially minimally invasive procedures.
So these custom packs are important for them too.
They help ASCs meet all the requirements for safety and sterility.
Makes sense. So hospitals are the big players now, but ASCs are catching up.
Yeah, it's a trend to watch, for sure.
All right, so we've covered the who, what, and where of this market. Let's talk about the why. What's driving all this growth in the custom procedure pack market?
Well, there are a lot of factors at play.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, the packs themselves are getting better.
Okay, how so?
They're using new materials and designs.
So they're more user-friendly.
Exactly, more efficient for the surgical teams.
Makes sense. What else is driving this growth?
Well, regulations are getting stricter worldwide.
Oh, right. About sterility and all that.
Yeah, hospitals and surgical centers are looking for ways to meet those regulations.
And custom packs can help with that.
Exactly. They're pre-sterilized and standardized.
What other factors are there?
Well, the global population is aging,
Uh-huh.
and older people tend to need more surgeries.
Right, so that's increasing demand.
It is. And then there are all the advancements in medical devices.
Oh, yeah. New technologies, new instruments.
Exactly, and custom packs can be tailored to those specific instruments.
So they can be really customized to the needs of each surgery.
They can, and that's really important for minimally invasive procedures.
Makes sense. What else is driving this market?
Well, there's a huge focus on infection control these days.
Oh, yeah, for good reason.
And these pre-packaged sterile packs help reduce the risk of infection.
So they're a key part of keeping patients safe.
Absolutely. And then there's the fact that healthcare spending is going up globally.
Uh-huh. More money in the system.
Yeah, so hospitals and surgical centers have more resources to invest in things like custom packs.
Makes sense. What other trends are contributing to this growth?
Well, in some regions, there's a growing preference for disposable medical products.
Okay.
So that's definitely a factor. And in other regions, hospitals are actually finding that custom packs can save them money.
Interesting. How so?
They streamline processes, they reduce waste.
So it's not just about convenience, it's about cost effectiveness too.
Exactly. And then you have the rise of minimally invasive surgeries.
Right. Those often require specialized instruments.
They do, and that's driving demand for custom packs.
Makes sense. Are there any other factors we should consider?
Well, some countries have regulations that specifically support single-use products.
So that's definitely playing a role.
Yeah, and then there's the increasing prevalence of chronic diseases.
Right. More people needing surgery.
Exactly. And all of this together, it's creating a lot of momentum in the custom procedure pack market.
So it's not just one thing.
Nope.
It's a whole bunch of trends all converging.
Pretty much.
Now let's flip the script for a second.
Okay.
Are there any obstacles holding this market back?
Well, there are a couple of things.
Like what?
Well, developing and producing these custom packs can be expensive.
Okay, especially if you have to meet all the regulations.
Exactly, and that can be a barrier for smaller companies.
Makes sense, it's a big investment.
It is, and then there's the regulatory process itself.
Getting approval for new medical devices can be tricky,
It can take a long time.
and that can slow down innovation.
Yeah, new companies might have trouble entering the market.
So those are definitely challenges for the industry.
They are.
All right, so looking ahead, what are some of the big trends we should expect to see in this market?
Well, technology is going to play a big role.
Okay, in what way?
Well, we're going to see more integration of technology into the packs themselves.
Like what kind of technology?
Things like real-time tracking and inventory management.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
It can make the whole supply chain much more efficient.
And reduce waste.
Exactly. And then the other big trend is the continued growth of ASCs.
Right, we talked about that.
Yeah, they're using more and more custom packs.
Makes sense. They're all about efficiency and cost effectiveness.
They are.
So it's not just about what's in the pack.
Yeah,
It's about how they're managed and used.
exactly. Technology is changing the game.
All right, last but not least,
Okay.
who are the big players in this market?
Oh, it's a pretty competitive market.
Makes sense.
But some of the biggest names are Medline Industries, Cardinal Health, Owens and Minor 3M, and Mumlick Healthcare.
Those are some big companies.
They have a huge global reach.
So how do they stay ahead of the competition?
Well, they're always looking for ways to innovate.
Okay.
They form partnerships, they acquire smaller companies, they invest in research and development.
So they're always trying to improve their products and expand their reach.
Exactly. It's a fast-moving market.
Makes sense. All right, well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of custom procedure packs.
It has.
Just to recap for you listening,
Yeah.
this market is projected to grow from almost $8 billion in 2025 to over $11 billion by 2033.
Wow.
And we saw how growth is happening all over the world, but APAC is really leading the charge.
It is.
And we talked about all the factors driving this growth,
Mm-hmm.
efficiency regulations, demographics, and more.
It's really interesting how it's all connected.
It is. It's like a domino effect.
Yeah, the global population is growing. People are living longer, so there are more surgeries. And that creates a need for more efficient and standardized procedures.
Right. And custom packs are the perfect solution.
Exactly. And then you add in minimally invasive surgeries, which need specialized instruments, and the pressure on healthcare systems to save money.
Right.
And it all points towards even more reliance on these customized packs.
So understanding this market really gives you a glimpse into the future of surgery.
Absolutely.
It's not just about business. It's about how healthcare is evolving.
Uh-huh.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up.
Okay.
We're hearing so much about personalized medicine these days.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
So how will that impact custom procedure packs in the future?
That's a good question.
Could we see packs tailored to each patient's DNA
Wow.
or their medical history?
Interesting.
Maybe even packs with patient-specific tools or medications.
That would be really something.
It makes you wonder how far this customization can go.
It does. It's exciting to think about.
It really is. It's the future of surgery.
Yeah. Who knows what they'll come up with next?
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.